This is Shayna from YumiYarns.com, and today we are working on our second lesson for the homegoing socks. We did the toe and the cast on yesterday, so if you missed that, I'll link the video up here, I think is where it's at, and that way you can jump back and watch that. But we are all ready. I've got my toe set to go, so we're ready to go into the foot. So the foot of the sock is kind of nice because there's no shaping, there's no really anything special to keep in mind aside from the fact that you want to remember which side is your top and which side is your bottom. Because the bottom of the foot you're going to want to keep in this smooth stockinette fabric, so it'll be easier to walk on. There is a foot called where it's called a princess sole, where you actually do it the opposite, where you have the purl bumps showing on the bottom of the foot so that you have the smooth side on the inside instead of these purl bumps. And some people, if you have sensitive feet, some people really like doing it that way. And basically all you do is, instead of knitting across the bottom of the foot, you purl across the bottom of the foot, because that'll bring your stitches or your purl bumps, from the inside of the sock to the outside of the sock. And so that might be a little bit more comfortable if you have very sensitive feet. For the most part, though, most people seem to be just fine with the standard sock where it's the purl bumps on the inside and the knit stitches on the outside. And I wanted to thank Merino y Vino again for supplying us with this beautiful yarn. This one's from her January surprise box. She does a yarn surprise box every year, and it's a quarterly box. So if you're needing any new yarn surprises in the mail, this year's has really great colorways. This was the one for January. So I'll link that below if you're interested. And let's get started. So the foot of the homegoing socks is, see, here's the bottom of the foot where it's the same stockinette that we have on the toe, and it's just all the way across. And then there's a panel on the top half, though, where I've got you purling for the background, and then you have a cable. And the purls are so that the cables pop, and you can see the patterning a lot better. Because when we get up here, you want that contrasting background for all those twisted stitches and mini cables. But we did, see up here we have the trees, so the foot, the cables along the top of the foot are like the tree trunks. So it's kind of nice. You can make the foot as long as you need, and I just recommend ending after working round 5 of your patterning, because that'll set you up for where you meet up here to start the top of the trees after we work the heel. So we're going to get started. Right here is our starting point. So we're going to start by doing some purls, and then we're going to do our first cable. And the cables on these socks go opposite directions because there's 2 trees. So this is the top of the sock. And these ones, the cables are going to the right, see that? And these ones, the cables twist to the left. So we've got a right-leaning cable and a left-leaning cable. And if you look, we've got 4 stitches that make up the cable. So see these V's here? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if we look up here, oops, I'm going to try to focus you a little bit better. If we look up here where it crosses, there's 1 V and 2 V. So since we know that we have 4 stitches for our cable, and we know that it's 2 stitches that are crossing over, this is going to be a 2 by 2 cable. And since it's crossing to the right, it's a 2 by 2 right cable. So that way you kind of know what you're looking at when you see different patterns and how to decipher different cables and things. So 4 stitches wide, 2 stitches crossing this way, and underneath you have 2 stitches crossing this way. That's why it's a 2 by 2, because 2 stitches are going this direction, 2 stitches are going this direction. But the ones that are on top are the ones that dictate which direction the cable is labeled. So since these ones are on top and they're heading to the right, this is a right cable. Hopefully that helps. And then again, when you look at this one, 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches, because see how those V's are there? That's one set of stitches. So each of those V's, that's how I know that it's 4 stitches wide. And then up here we've got 1 V, 2 V. So there's our 2 cables, and we know that the other two stitches, we know that the other 2 stitches are hiding underneath, but since the 2 stitches on top are going to the left, this one is a 2 by 2 left cable. So there's your little knitting reading lesson for the day. And I don't know about you guys, but whenever I look at knit sweaters or things at the stores, I'm always kind of picking apart different stitch patterns that they've used. So now you can play that fun game too. But then the rest of the top of the sock is just purled. So if you have your socks on magic loop, or if you're doing DPNs like I am, just note that the first half of the stitches are on the top of the foot. So you're going to just be purling the background and then working your cables. And then once you get to the back side of the stitches, so the second half of the stitches, it's just knitting straight across. Unless, like I said, you wanted to try that princess sole, then your bottom of your sock will look more like this section. And yeah, your toe will be this way though, unless you did it already. But I think most of the time when people do princess soles, they leave the toes. I don't know, to be honest, I haven't actually knit one myself because I don't mind having standard socks. But it is kind of a fun variation if you ever wanted to try that. So we are going to get started here. So I'm gonna focus you back in. There we go. And we've got our toe. Come on, camera, let's focus. And since I'm working on DPNs, I have my first half across the top here. There we go. This is the top of my sock. So I know we're going to be purling for the first little bit, and then we'll work a cable, and then we'll be purling a little bit, and we'll work a cable, and then we'll be purling a little bit. And then this is where in the pattern it has you with a marker that'll mark your halfway point. And then over here is the beginning of round. I still have my tail that I can use as my beginning of round. Since I tucked it inside though, that's not as helpful. So we are going to quick pull that out. Oops. There we go. Just going to loop it through and pull it through. And I don't even need to pull it all the way through. I just need kind of a little visual there, letting me know that's my beginning around. And that way later on, if I want, I can just pull the thread and pull it right back in. Okay, so to get started here, we are going, let's see, for the size I'm doing, I need to purl 8. And if you don't have your sock pattern yet, you can definitely go and grab one and jump in at any time. If these tutorials are getting posted too quickly for your particular knitting speed, that is totally fine. They will be here when you're ready for them. So I'm going to purl 8 stitches. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. So now we are going to work a knit 4 because we're setting up for our cables. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we're going to purl 8. So I've got 2 or 4 here and then 4 on the next needle. 1, 2, 3, 4. And for ease of filming, I might do this, where I'm just going to have all the top stitches on one needle. One, 2, 3, 4. Now we knit 4 again because we're setting up our second cable. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we purl across to the marker, or to where the top of our stitches are ending, the top of the foot, rather. And there we go. So now I've moved my stitches so that they're only on 3 needles, so that'll be easier as I'm showing you some stitches later on. But now you can see a little bit. Here are the purl bumps. See them right there? Those are all your little purl bumps on that first row, and then see right here where there's no bumps? That's where we set up our cable. So the next couple of rows are just the same exact as this one. So I'm going to go ahead and work those rows, and then when I come back, we will do our row that actually has the cables worked in. All right, so we'll be back in just a moment. All right, we are back. I've done my 4 rounds of setup. So we've got purl section here, got this knit section here, we've got purl section here, and I did add the needle back in. It was just a little too awkward having it on 3 needles like that to get across at any with any speed at all. So we're back to 4 needles. Then I've got, so this is the middle purl section. Here's the second section of knits where our second cable will be, and then here's the rest of our purl section. And I don't think I mentioned it, but the back half of the sock is just knitting. You just knit across. That's all it is for the back half. So that's kind of like your rest row, well, round. So we're going to start our cabling now. And one tip, it is really easy for this first bunch of stitches when you switch between knitting and purling to get loose. If you bring your yarn forward, if you're switching between needles like this, bring your yarn forward to do your purl, but put your needle that you're knitting on top of this DPN if you're using DPNs, and have that DPN kind of in the way there, kind of not. It keeps the stitches right here closer to the ones that you're purling, so you can prevent that gaping a little bit. Just makes it a little bit easier to not let them stretch out. So I'm going to purl across to our first cable. And once you kind of know what you're looking at, you don't need to worry about counting every single stitch. So I just worked the last purl stitch, and I know that because this next stitch is this whole column is knits, because there's no little bumps. So all those V's means I'm at the knit stitch section. See, I've got them 4 wide. So we know it is time to do our cable. Remember earlier we talked about how it's a 2 by 2 right cross. So what we're going to do is cabling is just rearranging the stitches. So I tend to cable without a cable needle, so that's what I'm going to show you. So to do that, these first stitches, these are going to be the ones that will be at the back, because if these were at the front, it would make our cable go to the left. Because basically we're going to take these 2 stitches and these 2 stitches and make them swap spots. So since these first 2 are going to be at the back because we want our cable going this way, so we want these stitches in front, the second 2 stitches, I'm going to put those over to this needle, and then I'm going to put these ones over. I could just slip all 4 of them. I like working in pairs like that for the cables when I'm cabling without a cable needle, just to keep things straight in my own mind. So then what I'm going to do, since these 2 are the ones that are going to be in back, I'm going to have my needle go from the back, my left needle, and I'm going to put it right through those 2 stitches. And I'm going to slide all 4 stitches off the needle. You kind of pinch it below those stitches with your ring finger and your thumb. These 2 stitches are safe. These ones are not on a needle. So we're going to slide our needle. It's a lot easier off camera, by the way, right through there. And you'll notice they did not just run away and cause a giant hole in your fabric when you do that. It's a lot easier than I think a lot of people realize. So then we've got our stitches split. Our first 2 are here, our second 2 are here, and we're just going to cross them. And that's literally what a cable is. It's just crossing stitches over each other and working them in a different order. So see? It's a little scrunched, but you can tell that we got our right cross going. So now all we do, now that we've rearranged our stitches, we're just going to knit across all 4 of them. Now we're back to the purls. DPNs and cameras are great, by the way. Go. Okay. And for the sake of visually making this simpler for you in the camera, I'm going to go back to just 3 needles for this section here. And you might have noticed that one's poking up a little. That's okay. Just pull it down a bit. I'll be fine. You can see your right cross there. So we're going to purl across to our next knit section. Just right there. Now these ones we're going to cross the opposite direction because this is a 2 by 2 left cross, left cable. I always think of it as cross instead of cable when I'm looking at the abbreviations. So we're going to slip those 2. Going to slip these 2 just like we did before. So same startup. However, we want these ones to be in front because we want them to jump over here and be in front of these guys so that we have our left cable. So instead of going to the back, going to go to the front. So the cable direction is kind of dictated by which, if you're crossing it in front or in back for that first set of stitches. So for a lift, we're bringing them to the front and crossing that way. So I did the same thing I did before, where I've got the first 2 stitches on both needles, second 2 stitches on just the one, and now we're sliding everything off, sliding these 2 back on to the right needle, and now we've crossed these 2 across these ones in front, so we've got our left cable. We're sliding them all over there, so you can kind of see, again, it's kind of scrunched at this point, but it is there. And now we're just going to knit these ones. Sorry about the wobbly camera, guys. There we go, and now we're back to our purls. So just purl across here, and then I'll show you how the cables look. Oh my goodness, I don't understand why it is so wobbly this time. Normally my purling is a bit more smooth than this. It's just kind of awkward with the camera and everything. But here we go. You can see this cable is going off to the left, and this cable is going off to the right. We've got our purls in the middle, and then we've got our smooth knit side. So we'll just knit across the back, and we're just going to keep going for the length of the foot, repeating those same 5 rounds that we just did. So once we're all done, we'll have a lovely repeating cable that goes all the way up. I'm going to slide these out of the way here now that I've laid them down, just to show you guys. So it'll go all the way across, and then right about here, so you can see where the heel is, that's where the foot's going to stop. This is our short row heel. Right here is the last row of the foot. See, it kind of angles over that way. So that section is all the foot section. And then on the next class, we're going to be working our short row heel, which is super fun. So no cables next class, but we will be doing German short rows, and they're super fun. And it's really handy to have in your toolkit. So we will just keep trucking along. I hope you guys got a lot out of this lesson and are enjoying your socks, and I will see you tomorrow for the next one. Have a great day. Thanks.